Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. A disturbing video has been making the rounds online of a man who being shot and killed in Lubbock, Texas. Now, in this video, we see Chad Reed being shot and killed by William Kyle Carruth as he's going to try to confront the Mr. Carruth as related to visitation of his son that was supposed to be scheduled for that day. Now, according to reports and the video, your Chad Reed came to the Carruth home in an effort to try to visit his son as related to scheduled visitation established by the family court. However, your William Kyle Carruth came out and confronted Chad Reed with a weapon, and as the argument gets more heated and the men continue to escalate their behavior, what happens is that your William Kyle Carruth, after demanding Chad Reed leave his property, then shoots and kills Chad Reed. Now, the police probably see this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of this horrible turn of events, it fits right in line with the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And clear to me that your William Kyle Carruth was one of those beta males who really has no understanding of how women are predatory and how some women can go out here and manipulate a man and try to use him as a weapon against another man. Now, that's really shown to me based on the alleged actions of the mother, who then has her son not even on the premises, and she knows that the visitation is supposed to take place at 3:15. However, she does not have the boy ready or available to be a part of the scheduled visitation. So she knows that this is going to lead to a confrontation, but she wants that confrontation to go on. And this is where a lot of guys get it twisted, because they don't see how manipulative some of these women in divorces are, and how they can go out here and use their new husband as a pawn and then launch him like a weapon against the ex-husband in an effort to get even with him. And that's what happened here, I believe, in this case with Chad Reed. She had issues with Chad Reed, so what she does is she creates a situation where the son is not available, and then your William Kyle Carruth has to go out here and be the protector, but what he's really being is the weapon that she uses to go out here and take out what she believes to be an enemy. And this is something that many of your women who are divorced or having issues with another man go out here and do. They find a beta male patsy to go out here and use them as a weapon to take out the man that they have issues with. But this guy, because he doesn't know how the game is chess, not checkers, winds up falling for the game, and he winds up participating in behaviors that can lead to him winding up in a whole heap of trouble. But a lot of these guys, they don't have the critical thinking skills, because they just get so caught up in their feelings over what this woman has told them that they're not thinking about their own intangibles of manhood, like their health, their safety, and their freedom. Now, a critical thinking man, if he does get involved with a woman who is divorced with children, he is going to leave all of those affairs to that woman to deal with her children, because that has nothing to do with him, and it has to do with the courts. And that's what a critical thinking man in that situation would do with a divorced woman on both sides. Now, your Chad Reed, if he were critically thinking, he would say, look, I'm not going to sit here and argue with this dude. No, I'm going to walk away from the situation, and I'm going to take this up with the family courts, and in the next time I go to the courts. I'm not going to get into it with this dude, because that's what this woman wants to use as ammunition to say that I'm an unfit parent because this is the kind of game that your females love to play. And sadly, your Chad Reed wound up falling for the game, just like your Kyle Carruth wound up falling for the game. Both men wound up getting played by a female predator and a puppet master pulling the strings, and because they couldn't see the puppet master pulling the strings, both men wound up putting themselves in a situation where one man is now dead and another one may possibly be facing prison. So this is what females love to do in many cases. They love to pit one man against another, but a critical thinking man, he can see these kind of patterns coming up and avoid danger altogether. For example, your Olivier Martinez wound up in a situation like this with Gabriel Aubry a couple of years ago, orchestrated by Halle Berry. And once your Gabriel Aubry found himself getting arrested for fighting Olivier Martinez over Halle Berry as related to the visitation of his daughter, instead of him continuing to get into a back and forth with Halle Berry, he decided to take it to the family courts. And once he took it to the family courts, they dropped the hammer on Halle Berry, and we have not had a problem with Halle Berry ever since. That is what a man does in these situations. He says, okay, I cannot visit my son today because there are more important intangibles here, like my health, my safety, and my freedom. And if I see a man with a loaded firearm, I'm going to get off his property, and we're going to settle this inside of a courtroom. That's how a critical thinking man deals with these kind of things. But because beta males are caught up in their emotions and their ego, what happens is they wind up escalating things like these two men did, and they keep pushing the argument because they want to sate their ego and partially try to impress this female, like I believe your William Kyle Carruth was trying to do. He was trying to impress this female to show that he was some sort of protector, and in his effort to try to show what kind of a protector he was, he wound up messing himself up because even though it was on his property, this man and he was told to leave the property, you can't really say that he was trespassing technically. So this may possibly lead to a case where this man may possibly wind up being charged for this man's manslaughter or his murder, and your William Kyle Carruth may possibly wind up getting locked up with Bubba and Tiny. But this is what happens to guys when they don't critically think. They wind up putting themselves in these kind of situations over females, and then they're not thinking that while they're locked up in jail, same said female will then write you a letter and tell you that things aren't working out as she monkey branches over to the next guy. So when I look at your William Kyle Carruth, he was the beta male who didn't see how he was being a pawn, being used by this female, who again conveniently made sure her son wasn't there, but knew that Chad Reed was coming for his son. And again, this is all kind of games that females set up because they want to go out here and play these kind of games, but a lot of these guys, they're not really on point with game, and that's why they can't see how bad these situations are with these divorced women and dealing with these child's fathers, because that kind of situation is a nightmare, and it's one where you'll never win, and it's one where your Kyle Carruth wound up going from a man to becoming a man in crisis because he let his feelings get manipulated by a woman, and he wound up letting himself get into a situation with a father as related to his son, and that's not a situation you want to be in. And that's why many men try to tell men out here not to get involved with single mothers or divorced mothers, because these women have a lot of emotional baggage, and what they want you to do is be the cleanup man who cleans up their garbage, and you have to deal with a lot of trash as you're dealing with them, like the ex-husbands, the ex-boyfriends, and all of the nightmares. And this is a nightmare scenario that is one that most men know is the ultimate end of dealing with a divorced woman, having to deal with an angry ex-husband who wants visitation with their children, and then you have to go out here and try to work this out because the woman is long gone. The woman is in the background, her children are in the background, and then you're the guy who she's setting up to take the beating and get be entertained by it. And if you go out here and try to defend yourself, you wind up becoming the defendant in court, and in some cases you wind up getting convicted, and then you wind up getting turned out by Bubba and Tiny, traded for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, Fritos chips. And as they are trading you, you get the Dear John letter, which tells you that she believes the relationship isn't working out, she's not happy anymore, and she's going to move on. And all of this for a female who has already had other men, been bonded to other men, connected to other men, and this is something a man wants to avoid because, well, the whole situation with this kind of female is not an optimal one for a man, because this is the kind of situation guys wind up in. But your beta males, because a lot of them are scavengers, they will go out here and deal with some woman who has been dropped by another man, and in their efforts to try to get leftover attention and a leftover relationship, they wind up picking up with somebody's ex-wife, and then wind up with a big nightmare like this one. And that's why these guys wind up in these situations, because they don't have the confidence to go out here and get their own woman, so they go out here and get somebody else's woman and have to deal with somebody else's drama. So when I look at your Chad Reed's death, it is a very tragic one, but it is one that is par for the course in this man crisis, because many of the men out here have not been raised with good critical thinking skills, the ability to use logic and reason, or the ability to go out here and problem solve in a constructive manner. No, many of these men are raised to be filled with emotion and to be egotistical, and because they're raised to be emotional and egotistical, what they do is escalate situations, and then when these men are out here try to posture, and what happens is one of them explodes in a rage, and one of them winds up taking the life of another, and the other one winds up suffering at the end of the day. Now, what's even more troubling about this whole situation is a boy has lost his father, and this will further perpetuate the cycle of the man crisis, because this boy has lost his father, and this woman is not going to regret taking this boy's father away from him, because now she won't be able to look at her husband, because this husband who she was using in a crap test took the life of her child's father, and now she's going to be looking at this man forever, realizing that she destroyed the life of her son, and she destroyed her family, all because of her ego. Now, when I look at this Chad Reed situation, it is another disturbing event in America's ongoing man crisis, and shows us how the man crisis in this country continues to get worse, because we have 2 to 3 generations of men who do not have good male life skills, who do not have good male survival skills, who do not know how to think critically, do not know how to problem solve or use logic and reason, and we have 2 to 3 generations of men who are filled with emotion and run on feelings. And these kind of men, they make impulsive decisions like your William Kyle Carruth did here, that are life-changing for all of the people around them, and they don't really understand the consequences of those decisions. And what happens is, because they act impulsively, they wind up doing damage to people and doing damage to people's lives. And that's what happens when you have males who don't have the life skills that a man has to have in navigating the world. Because had these men had good critical thinking skills, had good ability to use logic and reason, one man would not be going out to confront another man with a weapon, and another man would not be so caught up in his feelings about his entitlement to visitation that he would be out here trying to argue over things and not realize that the person who is supposed to be in charge of this child, the woman, really is the one that needs to be held accountable, because it was this woman who let both of these men
on and led them to be manipulated, because this woman knew this man was coming to see his child, and she left that whole situation where the son is in another place and didn't tell him, oh, your son is in another place, let me go get him, or your son is we're going to meet at this police station in a public venue, so that I already know I have issues with this man, so I'm going to meet him in a public place. So if there's a situation, the officers can see it and write a police report. No, what she wanted to do was play this crap test game that many females play, and they play this crap test game in an effort to try to get back at this man and get back to sate their feelings. But what happens is that tragically somebody winds up getting hurt, somebody winds up losing their life, and another man winds up in prison. Meanwhile, same said female goes on, and sadly, these children learn dysfunction as a way of life. Now, if you want to learn more about the dysfunctional behavior of beta males, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com. Now, this book will open up your eyes to why so many men are in crisis and help you learn how to develop the male life skills that will help you be able to go out here and avoid these kind of situations and be able to deal with conflict in a constructive manner. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App, like within the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today.